I think we'll go ahead and get started. This is Rod Howe, Cornell Cooperative Extension Assistant Director for Community and Economic Vitality. We're excited to be starting this series of WebEx training with a focus on these county profiles. So we want to thank John Vink for being our presenters today. Joe is a professor in the Department of Development Sociology, and also oversees the program on applied demographics, and Jan is with the program on applied demographics. This actually started probably about a year ago when we were preparing for a local government resource fair, and Joe and his team offered to put together county profiles for 6 or 7 counties. They were very well received, and long story short, that led to Extension Admin contracting with the program on applied demographics to put together a profile for every county in New York State. So we see this as a strong benefit to our Cornell Cooperative Extension Associations. We hope it positions them well. At the end, we'll talk about the next 2 WebEx trainings that we'll build from this. We want to thank Kim Fleming for all her support to make this happen. So, Joe, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Rod, and good morning, everyone.
Oh, wait.
Thanks.
Remind people to mute their phones. If they haven't muted their phones, mute their phones. Joe will take questions at a couple of times, so certainly if you have a question at that time, you can unmute your phone. You can also be typing questions and comments in the chat box as we go along. Sorry, Joe.
No problem. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So as Rod indicated, this is kind of a background to the launch of a product that is something we've done for several decades, and we're kind of excited about that. It's now called County Profiles, and this is a compendium of demographic, housing, education, economic, agricultural data, some climate data towards the end there. Jan Vink is the principal person involved in this. I'm as a co-PI on it, I guess, and we have some graduate students who helped in the compilation and production of this volume. You can see their names there, Nij, Suti, and Johannes. So this, as I say, is a little. Let me give a little history to this. Is in an introduction. This is a product that the Department of Development Sociology, or used to be called Rural Sociology, has done over many decades. Some of you older folks may recall a guy named Olaf Larsen who did this back in the 70s. I joined him for that one in the product out of the 1970 decennial census. Then I took over as the principal investigator for production of materials out of the 1980 census. Warren Brown, I hope he's online, also was involved in the production, or did the main production out of the 90-2000. And here we are back for the 2010 decennial census. We've always done this in cooperation with Cornell Cooperative Extension educators, and we've always produced them for all 62 New York State counties, and so it is again. So they've been authored by various individuals. Their content has varied a little bit. Their format has varied a little bit, but it's a continuation of an activity, a program that we've had going on for some time. In the past, and we hope again with this vintage of the production, these booklets are widely used. And as Rod indicated, we tried out to test the market last spring with a small venture, and it seemed to go well, so we thought let's move forward with it. So this venture is kind of, again, a cooperative arrangement between CARDI and Cornell Cooperative Extension, and now the Cornell program on applied demographics. I believe Kim sent you a link to that website. We may go there in a few minutes. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to take a look at the booklet, download it, have it on their computer, and we'll go through that in some detail in a few minutes. Anyhow, our endeavor in this introduction is to kind of say hello, to continue to bring you the booklets, and we'd also like to offer the possibility of updates to these volumes on a more frequent timetable. The reason for that change, we haven't done that in the past, but things have changed in terms of delivery of census and economic kind of materials since the 2000 decade. For example, up to 2000, we had what was known as the long form of the census. This was the one that had all the juicy information about education and income and poverty, etc. That was replaced, as you know, by what's called the American Community Survey. And that comes out on a more frequent periodic basis. So if you're in some sort of geographic unit, a community, for example, or county, that has a population of 60,000 or more, you get estimates every year. If you're in a community or a school district or whatever of 20,000, including 60,000 and over, you get period estimates every 3-year. Vintage, and for all geographic areas, we have a 5-year American Community Survey information estimates. So these are subdecadal, and why wait until 10 years to get this information? Likewise, for the economic censuses, they come out every 5 years. So they on the 2nd and 7th year. So 2012, one's taking place now, and in 2017 there will be another one. Likewise, for the agricultural censuses, those occur on the 2nd and 7th year of the decade. Moreover, poverty, population, income estimates are available yearly, and this is useful if you're making various kinds of grant applications, which I know you guys are, or you're doing plan updates, which I know you also are. So the idea is to try to bring this information to you on a more frequent basis. And, of course, like everything, that endeavor depends upon whether it's of use to you, the kind of demand we receive, and the funding available to provide it. Anyhow, the goals of today's webinar are, first of all, to introduce ourselves and say hello. Hi. Kind of meet everybody online and show you later our contact information, so if you'd like to get a hold of us. Second is to kind of introduce the booklet, get it warmed up, kind of walk through its contents, however much detail you want, to answer questions you might have either about what we said in this presentation or what you're seeing in the prototype that we developed for Genesee County and have sent around, made available. Then at the end, a discussion of the future steps, the evaluation of the seminar itself if you want, and definitely announcement of some follow-on webinars that will take place if you care to join those. Looking now at the prototype booklet, let me indicate that our plan is to make them available for all counties by the end of January. That may lap over into February, but soon. Will be in the mail soon. Or that is, you can link to our website and download it. Unlike previous editions, which were very much slower because they were done very manually, what we strove to do here is to automate the development of these booklets to the extent possible. Not everything can be automated. So, for example, maps, you kind of have to do it manually and so on. But the idea was if we can automate these, we can produce them more quickly and keep things more current, more timely. One of the difficulties, of course, in this process is the amount of interpretive materials that you may have seen in the older booklets are kind of absent there. We tried to kind of counter that by producing a glossary, which you'll find near the end of these booklets, if you want. Okay, so I'm just saying there are various kinds of materials coming available. The the economic censuses will be out soon. The agricultural censuses will be out a little bit later. So, by next year, that material would be available, and should you want it. Likewise, the current population survey is an ongoing activity. It's taking place every month. Materials are made available yearly. Likewise for the American Community Survey. So our question is, why would you wait for 2020 to receive the more current information? If these have been helpful to you in the past, as you know, that information kind of ages when it passes through 10 years, gets out of date. Okay, turning now to the booklet, if you look at the table of contents, let me just kind of walk through how we organize this thing. Broad areas, first you'll see some reference maps. Then we discuss the total population because this is the broadest element, we think, in terms of what you need to know in terms of planning and in grant applications and so on. Then we break this down by age, well, actually age and sex, and then by race. And that's when you may see some population pyramids and so on, various kinds of graphs. Another kind of important consideration are housing units, not only the total number of units, but whether they're occupied and vacant and so on, so we present that information. Education is always a perennial concern because it speaks to what the future looks like in your area. So we presented some information about that and by various age groups and so on. Language spoken at home is become, of course, very important with immigration processes taking place and so on. Given the concern with unemployment and the current kind of recessionary economy we're in, labor force characteristics we figured were kind of important to know about, who's employed, what's the labor force, and so on. Household income's the next one, and with it comes also poverty concern, which we know are important for grant applications and so on. Many of the educators are involved in working with agricultural components, so we included what we hope are the key information out of the agricultural census. Let us know. Okay, now how this come about, as Rod indicated earlier, it was we tried out the idea of these booklets. They seemed to go well, so last August, Rod pulled together kind of a group of us to see if we should go forward with another project this time around. That included Rod from CARDI. It included Joe Francis and Jan Vink. Jan's on the webinar with us. From the Cornell Program on Applied Demographics, and from Cornell Cooperative Extension, we had Sarah Dayton, Andy Turner, and Kimberly Fleming. The variables selected are kind of ones that we had to guess about, that is Jan and I, but we did have some guidance from Rod, Hal, and Robin, and we don't know if these are all the important ones, the most important ones to you, and so on, but you'll let us know, I assume. Okay, another general note, the primary focus of information is at the county level of geography rather than the sub-county. There is some sub-county, and by that, that's a Census Bureau term. That means the towns, the cities, and Indian reservations if you have them in your county. There's a brief bit of information about village population, but that's about it. And we did map some other areas. We mapped the urban areas, which means urban clusters or urbanized areas. We mapped school districts. We mapped congressional districts. We mapped New York Senate and Assembly and how they intersect with your county. Hopefully that would be helpful to you. We focus on the county level indicators because we want a broad view that we thought would be most helpful. The other thing is that to present sub-county would have expanded the booklets considerably, and also either information is not available on some of these indicators at the sub-county level, or it's less reliable because of smaller populations. So we've kind of made the judgment not to include that except for the biggest things of population. However, if you're interested in that kind of information, there is a follow-on that next webinar that Robin's going to present, where she shows additional way to access data at the county and sub-county levels. As indicated, there's a glossary of terms at the end of the booklet before the references. In terms of sources of information used for population, you can see the list there: Census of Population Housing, American Community Survey, and the Annual Population Estimates. For education language, we depended upon the 5-year American Community Survey. For labor force characteristics, we consulted 3 sources. The local area unemployment statistics from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Labor Statistics Quarterly Census of Employment and Wages from Department of Labor, and the Public Use Quarterly Workforce Indicator from the Bureau of the Census, and that's one we are primarily working with. For household income and poverty, we use the SAPE, that is Small Area Income and Poverty Estimates. For agriculture, we took material from the 2007 Census of Agriculture. Remember, that's the latest available. It's been published. And from the National Agricultural Statistical Service for, crops and soils and so on. For climate, our primary source was the Northeast Regional Climate Center at Cornell, which is part of NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So with that brief introduction, hopefully everybody gave everybody a chance to kind of flip through the PDF document for Genesee County. I'd like to move in a minute to a more detailed discussion of the contents of the book. A general remark before we start is that you can not only download the booklets, but clearly you can go into each of the PDF and grab a map, a graph, or table and copy those to your own Word document or PowerPoint or Excel table and use in your own analysis. Later, after we walk through it, I need to know whether people want to talk about the population pyramids, and if so, we have a little more information about that, or if you'd like clarification on the comparison charts, we can talk about that. So at this time, what I'd like to do is turn the presentation. Where did Jan Vink go? Can you help me out here, Kimberly? There's Jan. Can I pass it to Jan?
Yeah, we're pulling up the profile first.
Yeah, I think the computer of mine.
Here you go. Okay, I'll put it on.
Okay, so now to Jan.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for attending this webinar. Also, I want to extend my thanks to the Canal Cooperative Extensions for giving us the opportunity to continue the tradition of producing those booklets. And thank Joe, Rod, Robin, Neat, Sudi, Johannes, everybody involved to make those booklets. Can I?
You wanted to pull up the booklet, right?
Yes.
Okay, I can do that.
I wanted to you to that booklet and walk you very, very briefly through it.
Can you get some controls?
I can.
If you're lucky, then on the left side you see a table of contents, and in the middle you see the document. Maybe not all browsers and PDF readers show the table on the left, but there is something called bookmarks, and if you open it, then you can.
So when I switch presenters to you, Jan, it went off the share. If you do share application,
Okay.
and the link to the Genesee profile is right there. But we are we're seeing with everyone else.
I see my own applications. Maybe that. I'm sharing my screen now.
Yeah.
And if people want to bring down the chat box, you can go up to the menu at the top, click chat, And also, if you want to view who's in the meeting, you can click participants.
Joe quickly mentioned the table of contents, and on the left side you see those in the broad categories. Just walk you quickly through it, starting with the reference maps. Starts with the reference map of the census geography, and the census geography are the administrative boundaries, and administrative boundaries shown here are the boundaries of the cities, the towns, and Indian reservations, and some dots indicate incorporated villages. The Census Bureau also collects data on what they call census-designated places. Those are things like hamlets and those kind of things. And they make the maps in some counties very, very complex and unreadable, so we decided to leave them off. On the next page, in the reference maps, we overlay the county of interest, Genesee in this case, with some other districts that might be of importance to all of you. Left top, the school districts, clearly not corresponding with the county boundaries, and the three of the newly drawn political districts. On top right, the House of Representatives, after the redistricting in 2010, and the New York Senate and New York Assembly also after the redistricting that was recently done. Indication what district we are talking about, you might be able to find your congressman that way. Next page, we display the county now by population density. Population density is the number of people divided by the amount of land area. So if there are a lot of people close together, you have a high population density, and if the people are more spread out, it's less density. Overlaid on that is what the Census Bureau calls urban areas. Those are clusters of area with a high population density, and they, as you can imagine, are not always corresponding with administrative boundaries. And in the inset is Genesee, Batavia, the city of Batavia. You can see that, the city boundaries contain some areas with low density, but the urban sprawl extends out of the city boundaries. Then chapter 3, we now skip to the total population. I display here the total population back to 1940 to 2010 as measured by the decennial census every 10 years, and the program on applied demographics produces also population projections. So they are displayed in red to the right, Genesee County.
Do we have a question on the line?
Mute your phone.
The Census Bureau not only produces counts every 10 years, they also produce annual estimates of the total population. And I enlarged those over the last 21 years just to indicate that there's more fluctuation going on than is being measured by the decennial census on its own. I just quickly go through the booklet. I hope you all take the time to look at it in more detail, and certainly when your booklet of the county of your interest is being published. They all will have the same look and feel, only the county differs. The sub-counties population, same information. It's also a map. Growth is not easily distributed in different parts of the county. This county, for example.
Hi, it's Yumila calling. Hi, I need to reschedule.
Can everyone please mute their phones?
Oh, he had an appointment today. That's right. It's every other week.
South of the interstate, there's more population growth.
Right. Yep. I got stuck in a meeting. Usually he comes with me, and I got stuck in a meeting for mine, so I couldn't come to it. Anyway.
Someone who's talking on the phone, please mute your phone. Thank you.
Very important way of looking at the population is looking at the population by age. And one of the standard methods in demographics is displaying that as population pyramids, where people of the young ages are at the bottom of the chart, and the older population is at the top of the chart. And the top left is the 1950 population, and in steps of 30 years. You see that the population aging, and especially the baby boom, is going through those graphs. And in the 2010 pyramid, the left bottom, you see clearly the baby boom around age 45 to 60. The bars are longer, indicating more people in those age groups. Selected a couple of those age groups and listed them out. Just as a proxy for the school age population, I took the age groups 5 to 14. In the 60s, 70s, those were about a fifth of the population, and now it's only 1 in 8 is in that age group. Then the working age 25 to 64. The group is growing, but our projections predict a little bit of decline in the future in that age group. And of course, the age group 65 and older, that's the baby boom, retiring pretty soon. And those bars will get longer in the near future. Another indication of age is the median age. And I presented here by different parts of the county. In some counties, you will see that the median age varies a lot within the county, especially if there are student populations involved. Then, next chapter by race. Tennessee County is a mainly white population. And even in Tennessee County, as the graph indicates, the younger population show more diversity than the older populations. Then the next step is a housing unit.
I need a phone because I'm do a webinar. Like
American,
the computer's there and my phone's here.
Characteristics of the housing. And this is kind of a summary table of data you can get.
How's your portfolio?
On the housing units.
Did you take it with you?
Community survey.
Well, it definitely sounds promising when they're
Yes,
saying,
it sure does.
We're going to look into scheduling your drug test.
The last table that comes from an annual census is a number of housing units and the growth of those housing units over time. And it indicates that there's significant counties.
That's great.
Now stepped over, make kind of a transition from information from the decennial census to information from the American Community Survey by different subjects. Education. You have to look at those tables for yourself to find the tables of interest. We thought that language spoken at home might be of interest for some. Educational attainment, of course, what kind of education did people reach? And step over to the labor force characteristics. This is quite a big table with a lot of information in it, and you kind of have to look line by line. If I look at the top line, this is measured for the population 16 years and older. How many people are there? How many people are in the labor force? People in the labor force are those people that are working and those people that are unemployed but want to work. People that not everybody is in the labor force, and as indicated by that 66%. If you go down religiously, for example, that's 75 and older, only 3.8% say that they are in the labor force. So they are either working or looking for work. Next column is percentage employed, and then the last column is unemployment rate for that line. Again, that varies by group, by population group. You might also notice that there is an estimate and a margin of error in every column. This is quite new for the Census Bureau. Starting with the American Community Survey, they publish what they call the margin of error. Margin of error kind of indicates certainty that surrounds those estimates. If you derive estimates from a survey, like the American Community Survey, then you can imagine if you ask a different group of people, you get different answers, and your count and your estimate might be slightly different.
We're going to increase the percentage on your computer.
I think if you hit the plus button, we might be able to get a bigger view for everyone.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Better? Thank you, Kevin.
Okay. Yes. Then talking about the margin of error, it indicates the level of uncertainty surround. And for some small groups, like the Pacific Islanders in Genesee County, yes, a lot of uncertainty, of course, because there are not many of them. And how many precisely is, kind of up in the air. You can kind of say that maybe 20 to 24 years old, estimate is 3,806, and with a margin of error, you can say quite certain that estimate is somewhere between 3,600 and something and almost 4,000.
Jan,
yes.
There's a question in the chat box here. Is there a way that you can explain the columns about youth ages 16 to 19? What's the difference between in the labor force and the employed?
The labor force is kind of the sum of those employed and those unemployed. And then there is a group of people that is not in the labor force. The group not in the labor force are those that are just not looking for work for one reason or the other. And in youth, it's a lot of times because they are going to school and not looking for a job. So they are not in the labor force. But if you are actively looking for work and you don't work, then you're unemployed. And employed if you are looking for work.
So just to add to that, so the unemployment rate plus those that are unemployed plus those that are employed should equal those that are in the labor force, and then adding to those that aren't actively looking for work, that just are not for whatever reason interested or able to work, and adding to that, then you have the total.
That's correct.
So.
Yes. And in this table, I am not displaying the percentage of people that is unemployed, but the percentage of people of the labor force that is unemployed.
Right.
And that is the definition of the unemployment rate.
Mm-hmm. See you, buddy. Nice to see you. Good luck, and just keep in contact. If you have any problems with that, physical, let us know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're going to charge you or anything, but okay, guys. I'll see you in a while. Thanks a lot.
We'll ask one more time. Please, if you're having side conversations, please mute your phone.
The next chart displays the annual unemployment rate in Genesee County. As a contrast, I contrast that with the unemployment rate in New York State, and you see it going up and down with the recession periods. This is annual. At the bottom, you can also see it on a monthly basis. In Genesee County, you see a lot of seasonality in the employment, meaning that in the winter time there are a lot of people laid off and looking for work, which they find in the summertime.
Good morning, Jan.
Yes.
I'm sorry to be very slow with this, but going back a couple slides, this is Barbara Flozier. I asked a question about the columns not adding up. I just want to understand the 16 to 19-year-olds.
Yes.
Okay, so I thought that I understood you to say that the unemployed and the employed together should equal the in-labor force number.
Yes, but
so I'm not seeing that adds up, and I'm wondering what's missing.
The percentage of the population that is unemployed is missing.
Okay, so looking at the age 16 to 19-year-olds, the unemployment rate 25.2, the employed 34, together should add up to the 46?
No. 46% means that 46% of the 16 to 90 years old are in the labor force.
Okay.
54% of that age group is not in the labor force, and they are probably in school and not looking for a job.
Okay, so I understand the difference there. In labor force is you're looking for work, and that could be whether or not you're in school.
Yes.
The remainder, the balance, the 64%, they're just not looking for work, or they're unemployed?
Yes. And
okay.
The 34% means that 34% of 16 to 9 years old are working. This is a percentage of the total.
Yes.
The 25.2% is a percentage of the labor force. So 25% of the labor force is unemployed.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. I'm sorry it took me so long to get that.
No, I understand, and I think it's good to go through those questions, and it should be a little bit clearer probably in the headings. Thank
you very much. Appreciate it.
And all adding, you can calculate that 12%, 46 minus 34, is 12% of the population in that age group is unemployed, is looking for work.
Gotcha.
And we'll let Jan finish going through, just so you have a flavor of the rest of the charts, and then we'll take questions or go back. But Jan, why don't you just finish up going through the kinds of stuff that's in?
Yes. So, chart of the unemployment rate. In this graph, I contrast the number of people working or wanting to work with the number of jobs in the county. In some counties, you will see that there are more jobs than people working. That means that there are people from surrounding counties entering that county to work there. And in Genesee County, there are probably people working in other counties surrounding Genesee to look for a job. Another difficult graph, different kinds of workers, for profit, non-for-profit. Some classes have more male than female in them, and there are also differences in median earnings in all those different classes. I also found tables that indicate number of jobs by industry sector. There are several sources for a table like this. I chose the Public US Quarterly Workforce Indicators. There's a lot of detail going into all those differences, but I think main thing is, what kind of jobs are prevalent in this county, and are they more prevalent in this county as they are in New York State? Then switching to income. This is American Community Survey publishes tables how much income that goes into each household, and this is a table. The table is a little bit difficult to read because the bins don't have equal width. So you might think that most of the people in Genesee County make between 75 and 99,000, but because that is a pretty wide interval, kind of have to correct for that. And if I show it slightly different and correct for those differences in the width, then the top of the household income distribution lays somewhere around 30,000 in Tennessee County. As one indicator of the household income distribution is the median household income, and you can track that over time. And the small area income and poverty estimate does just that. And again, contrasting it with New York State. Those numbers are not corrected for inflation, just to be clear. And the same measure, only now in different parts of the county. You can see that in some parts of the county, the median income is a lot lower than in other parts of the county. That's indicated in the graph on the left side, and on the right side are all the counties in New York. You see that most of the counties have a median income somewhere between 40,000 and 60,000, but there are some counties that go much higher with their median income. Same kind of table as with the labor force, only now for poverty. Several groups, the population divided in different ways, and how much poverty is there in all those different groups. And as a chart, number of people in poverty and the poverty rate. You see that going up in recent years. And again, in different parts of the county, different poverty rates. In Genesee County, looking at the widespread of poverty rates. But please keep an eye on the margin of error. They are pretty wide for some of those statistics, indicating that there's quite some uncertainty surrounding those estimates. And a big step to something completely different, agriculture. The bars show the number of farms in Genesee County over time, and the red line, the land in farms. It's published by the Agricultural Statistical Service. A table with some demographic information about the principal operators as measured in 2007 in the agriculture census. I was kind of shocked to see those average ages. I'm very curious to see what it looks like in 2012. And from the air, nowadays, very technical advanced methods, you can kind of see what is growing everywhere, and you can map that, and this map kind of displays where the main crops are cereals, where the main crops are hay or other crops like that, or fruits. The original map showed all those groups in much more detail, and you really have to zoom in to get that information. This gives a little bit of a flavor of what grows where in the county. And the next table kind of summarizes those findings. Yeah, from agriculture, I think it's a little step to climate, and yeah, who doesn't like to talk about the weather, especially nowadays. I decided also to include some information on climate. There are a lot of weather stations, and almost all the counties have at least one or two weather stations within their boundaries, and some of the counties we had to expand the map a little to include some weather stations in the surrounding areas. Yeah, weather also depends on the elevation of the weather stations. I charted some of the rainfall and the snowfall, and for agriculture, I think also the length of the freeze-free season is of great importance and varies a lot within the state. In Batavia, for example, on average, there are 165 days between the last day of frost and the first day of frost. Corresponding with the climate are the plant hardiness zones. All of you go shopping for plants for the garden know about plant hardiness zones. That finishes the charts and the tables of those booklets. In the glossary, we explain some of those terms in a little bit more detail, and last section contains a lot of references. Where did I find my data? Where can you find more data? Some of those links you can click on in the PDF document. You can click on all those links and see that information for yourself. Some are specific for the county. Some are more entrances to portals where you can then have to find your own data.
Jan, I think we ought to close it off, give people time to ask questions. Yeah.
I'm also at the end of this booklet.
Yeah.
So questions, and you may have, you saw Joe's reference at the very beginning that if you had looked ahead on the slide presentation that we sent out, there was a willingness to explain how to read. Was it the pyramid diagrams and I forget what.
And the comparison chart. Jan kind of went through the comparison chart. I think, Rod, better thing would be to open this up to people to get their comments.
Sounds good. So there's still a little bit of time to give some feedback, but they are anxious to go ahead and finish producing the profile for every county. But this is your chance to give some feedback, right, Joe?
Yes.
So people can get on the phone to ask questions or enter a question into the chat box. If you enter a question in the chat box, select send to everyone so people can see your question.
So while you're thinking of your questions, we hope that you would see value not only for your own association, but we know that United Way, for instance, has to have all this kind of background information for each county. So it might be that you can save some work for others in your county by sharing this kind of information. So we hope that it positions our Cornell Cooperative Extension Associations very well.
This is Megan Tiff from Tompkins County. Are the books going to be just data for our specific counties, or are they going to be a compilation of all counties?
Each specific county, one for each county. except New York City. That's kind of bundled. The boroughs there.
Okay. Thank you.
Barbara, you keep finding typos.
I can't believe there's no...
Okay.
We know that it was really just to give you a quick overview of what's in the cities. There's a question. Joe and Jan, can you see the question?
No, they flash. They're flashing on my screen, and then they're gone. So they're only there a second. I don't have the original view of the WebEx, and so I'm not seeing the chat things except kind of at the top. I don't know. Are you guys seeing them?
Just so you can see, it was for counties that have big cities, will there be more detailed information for the city within the county?
No.
Just those 4 or 5 tables with just one number for that city with the towns, so median age, the median household income, but just as an aggregate for that city.
If folks are, I'm thinking of this as, this is so exciting for everyone to finally have some really good comprehensive data. So if you think of this as sort of like your new addiction, data is your addiction, and this is your gateway or entry drug, and you want more. So the next webinar, this is Robin Blakely Armitage, by the way. I'll be doing a webinar next month that will show you. We'll go to the PAD website, but we'll also go to some other websites where we will look at how you can access data for down to the municipal level, trends over time, and compare places. So getting even more detail. So you'll get more specificity and detail next month as well. But this is a great, great foundation.
And that will be on February 22nd at 10 o'clock. And then the third in the series will be following up on the use of demographic information with grant writing, and that's on March 15th. Joe, another question that I think you actually addressed, but it says, since we're still collecting ag census data for 2012, will the source of ag stats still be 2007?
Well, that depends on whether how much interest there is in updates, Rod. So I think we have to kind of talk about that. Our present arrangement, remember, is to kind of produce these booklets with the most current information available at the time of production. Now, I mentioned the other things are coming out, and we're happy to do updates, but I think we need to talk about that. So kind of an indirect answer to the question is, as that becomes available, yes, we could provide that kind of information. Likewise, if there's details interested in the cities, which I totally understand, again, we could provide that kind of information. We need to talk about it.
So read that to say feedback will be really important. If you find this information valuable and want it to be updated and maybe even add additional information, that's good feedback to see if this can be an ongoing relationship between Extension Admin and PAD. They can't do it for free, so there would have to be an ongoing relationship. So feedback will be really important. Several of you are asking about the final booklets. I believe that Joe said at the beginning that the expectation is that they'll all be done by the end of January, and they'll be posted to the PAD website. We'll make sure that we send out an email to everybody on this list, as well as executive directors, pointing you to, they'll be the same place that you went to see the Genesee profile.
No,
they won't be.
Slightly different.
Okay, but we'll make sure you know when they're all posted on the PAD website. And I just want to emphasize Joe's point about you should feel free to take this material. You can click on graphs and whatnot and put in your own publications and newsletters. Do give reference to where you got the information, but they've designed this in a way that hopefully the information can be used in a variety of ways.
Yes, the benefit of the electronic world. Are there other questions?
There's a question about, are there particular sets of data that you will prioritized for updating?
I think that depends upon need or demand. So as you stated more eloquently than I, if people let us know what they would like, that would be a helpful guide. We'd talk about it.
I'll work with Kim to send out an evaluation for this, and feel free to use that evaluation to say, how you might, because it would be useful for us to know how you might use this information. So if we don't include a specific question about that in the general space, please talk about that. But that would also be your chance to talk about your interest in seeing this kind of or what information you'd like to see updated on a regular basis.
Rod, we also save our contact information. I don't know if it's at the end here. I've forgotten below the references, but definitely it's the end of the PowerPoint presentation. So we have our PAD website, and we had, okay, are you switching back to me? Then let me go down. Nope.
And while Joe goes there, I just want to again thank the Program on Applied Demographics for pulling together this information and reminding us that you're kind of keeping that historical thread alive, that this goes back for several decades where this kind of information has been provided for New York State. So thank you for carrying on that tradition.
Randy, they should, if you see the contact information there on PAD, then go to that site, and then it should be John, isn't it? You click on the other things. How do they go? Once they've gone to PAD website, which I'm showing, what's the specific reference to the booklets? I'd have to walk through it, but maybe you can give it quickly.
We'll make sure that everyone has that information.
Okay. And then we do have an email address there, as you can see. And you've mentioned the Robbins and Heidi's seminars are coming up, and those dates are showing.
They're there. So, Jan or Joe, any last sort of words of wisdom on the use of data and demographics?
Be careful.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that.
Well, thank you again for this and for putting together the booklet. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. And look for a link where we'll send out an evaluation for today's presentation.
And thank you guys for letting us present.
And Joe, you come back north.
Pardon me? Oh, come back north?
Take care.
Nice.
Guys.